Picasso's Pizza, we love you.
That's good pizza.
Picasso's Pizza. We are Buffalo Pizza.
Come on, girl. We're going to miss the game.
Picasso.
Folks, welcome back. Happy Sunday, January 21st. It is AFC Divisional Game Day. I am here, Maniac. Let's get my partner, Mr. Your friend, our friend, Jake Micah in. Micah, the Super Bowl push continues on, and I don't think the stakes could be any higher hosting the Kansas City Chiefs today.
Nope. This is the matchup we've been waiting for years, right? At this exact spot in January at home against the Chiefs. Nothing more you could ask for. We're almost there, waiting all week, all season for Sunday night. But I'm excited. I'm sure you're excited to get down to Highmark Stadium, maybe to the Pit. Are you thinking about it?
I mean, I'm at least gonna take a gander at the Pit, pay my respects, and see. Maybe I'll encourage some others. But yeah, obviously the Pit's part of the process here. You got to trust the process. So super excited, obviously, to get there, get to game day tailgate. When you woke up today, what was your first thought? That's the last thing I want to hear from you before we go to yesterday's games.
First thought, I feel good. Like it's not really nervous energy. It's more just excited to get to there. Like I feel like I'm really just waiting for that first moment when they turn to CBS and they've been good, very good about turning to it right as the crowd's going with the "Where would you rather be than right here, right now?" and hearing it just boom through the speakers like like we're at, the big house or down in Georgia or Alabama. Like that's what the crowd environment has felt like in these big games. It's going to be the loudest, I'm sure, Highmark Stadium has been in 30 years today. So that's what I'm just excited to see like what the atmosphere is like. And then once the game starts, the nerves will start setting in to see how it kind of plays out.
I love that take. You woke up not nervous and you have big expectations. Folks, you should feel the same way when you're ordering from Picasso's Pizza. Big expectations and nothing to be nervous about. Best sheet pizza in Western New York. Go to picassospizza.net to get your best deals on the best pizza today. Speaking of the best deals, Ravens and 49ers took a deal. Not easy sledding for either. Not that it ever is in the NFL, but ultimately the one seeds will be hosting on Championship Sunday. Mike, did it surprise you how they both these games kind of got there?
Yeah, the Ravens' run defense really stepped up in that second half, and that made making CJ Stroud and the Texans' offense one-dimensional was really key for them kind of pulling away in that game. But it felt like the Texans were in that game, and you know how Texans are a big strike offense. Like they were just a couple big plays away from getting back into it. But the Ravens, that defense was just stout. That crowd was nuts yesterday. But I wasn't particularly impressed. I know you weren't by the Ravens offense moving the ball. Lamar's stats were pretty pedestrian. Only 152 yards passing. They obviously had a good game running the ball, but the defense is really what impressed me out of the Ravens. The Niners escaped though. The Packers blew that game, especially in the last 5 minutes. So Brock Purdy is he's gonna escape some criticism this week for that last drive, but he was not particularly sharp in that game. And so if you're looking at the NFC side, the three teams left are not particularly impressive, especially the group of quarterbacks on that side compared to what we've got left in the AFC with probably the best three quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, my takeaway was very much like yours. You saw my words on the Baltimore offense. I get called out. I'm already looking ahead, even though I literally said our plate is beyond full. But no, I mean, you take away Lamar running, and listen, I know you can say take away Josh Allen running. Same thing happens to the Bills offense. I think that Lamar is just, I mean, he's afraid to take a hit, plain and simple. Josh isn't really afraid to take a hit. He'll take like a knockout, but that's what makes the ability to keep Lamar in the pocket so much more valuable. Because obviously, once he gets out of the pocket, it is, off to the races, just like it was at Louisville. And yeah, Brock Purdy, talk about escaping criticism. MVP candidate, my friggin' ass. He was lucky he was riding the shoulders of Christian McCaffrey, or else they would have been heading home to the golf course today.
Yeah, and Debo got hurt in that game, like first drive or whatever, and left. But that your offense can't just go anemic when one player goes out, and that's what it felt like it did. Like they really lost their identity without Samuel. So the Packers blew that game. I mean, the missed kick to go up by 7, the Jordan Love special, the Brett Favre special interception there. Basically, we need the side by side of the Vikings interception with the Jordan Love one because it looked exactly the same.
Those are very similar, very similar circumstances for sure.
But we could be talking about a completely different NFC landscape today going into it. But now that Niners team probably feeling good next week going into that game.
I will say before we get into it, the fact that the Ravens won I think makes the crowd more raucous today. And then because
yeah.
you're not like, oh, we might be, we like, people can act like, oh, well, we'll be like, we're fighting for hosting an AFC game. No, this is the last hurrah at Highmark Stadium this season. This is literally leave it all on the line, leave it all out there. There is no tomorrow for Highmark Stadium. So speaking of no tomorrow, you always have tomorrow when you got your Picasso's pizza with bread, sauce, and cheese. Micah, why don't you lead us off on this segment?
I think that this my bread sauce and cheese is pretty similar to the first matchup, but hey, it worked the first time, so let's roll it back, right? Containing the pocket on Mahomes. We saw him last week getting out on some scrambles. He likes to run more. He even said himself, I like to run more. I like to get out and do that more in the playoffs. So contain that pocket. Don't let him affect you on the outside. Pressuring with that front four so that the secondary can have as much help as they want. Obviously, I think we're looking pretty good on the injury front after a pretty scary week, seeing all the guys on there. I think there's a lot of guys that are going to go, but they're still hampered by something. So pressuring with 4 and having as many bodies in the secondary as we can have to kind of stay in coverage and then keeping Mahomes in that pocket is key. And maintaining composure, and this is mostly for the offense, because we've seen in these big games, Josh Allen try to play hero ball. The offense playing too excitedly, just not playing sugar high Josh Allen, as some people put it. We need a composed, locked in offense to just stay to the script, stay according to the game plan, keep it all within them, and stay in this moment, because it's going to be a hyped up crowd. They're going to be hyped up for this moment. They know how big this game is. Maintaining composure is the biggest thing, because you can't afford to go down early to this team in this spot.
We need to maintain our composure. It's Will Ferrell in Old School, right? Screaming in the locker room. Yeah, obviously, love those points, and they're all, especially the pressure with 4. And it's almost like, again, like you alluded to, you want to pressure with 4, but you don't just want the defensive end collapsing down. You kind of want him methodically closing down so that the DTs can step up, and Mahomes has nowhere to go, obviously, containing that pocket. Speaking of containing that pocket, if you've watched the Picasso's playoff into the Super Bowl push, I believe 7 straight times I've said the key for the Bills on my bread is a strong start. That switches today. Ooh. The bread, you gotta stop Travis Kelce. This guy in the playoffs has been a Buffalo Bills killer. In the regular season against the Bills, he's just a little basic boy. He averages 6 to 7 catches a game. He averages 1 touchdown every other game or so. At about 40 to 50, 60 yards, somewhere in that range. In the playoffs in 2 games, he's averaging 10 and a half catches per game, over 100 yards per game, and over a touchdown per game. We've got to stop Travis Kelce, especially because it doesn't seem like, besides maybe Rice, that Mahomes trusts his other options. On offense, we got to be efficient. Why is that important? Because we got a strong start against the Chiefs last time. We were up 14-0 after Josh Allen ran it in. But then we only got 6 points the remaining 42 minutes of the game. So that was no good. We need to be efficient on offense, and we need to be keeping Mahomes off the field. Both teams today are going to be, I honestly believe, going to be running down the clock on offense. They're going to be trying to keep the other team off the field as much as possible, the other offensive unit off the field. And I've never done this, but trick play, this is going to be a close game. Micah. I feel like we could see a little, razzle-dazzle here in a spot. But I think that if there was a time for Joe Brady to unleash something, now is the time to do it in a close game against Kansas City. They just played you 7 weeks ago or whatnot, so they kind of have some film on what you're trying to do on offense. Use that film against them. Could be a trick play opportunity. But there's no trick here, folks. Let's go out to Orchard Park for Carves Countdown.
Folks, welcome to Carves Countdown, part of Turner Sports pregame show, sponsored by Picasso's Pizza. Picasso's playoff push, Kansas City, divisional round. Mahomes' first game on the road in the playoffs. I'm here with Jim, hashtag Jimmy from last year, divisional. Lost to the Bengals when we interviewed you last. Let's hope, the luck changes here. But how are we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. UFC fight tonight. We're hype.
I love it, man. I love it. So our first question, Kansas City, a little different this year. The defense has gotten them to where they are compared to the offense in past years. Jim, if you're calling the shots with Joe Brady, what are you calling? What are the keys for the Bills offense today?
Keys of the Bills offense tonight is to push the ball in the end zone or score every play. Or not every play, but every drive, you got to score. Field goal, touchdown, especially in the red zone, you got to put that ball in. You got to score each time you touch the ball.
I love it. Second question, let's flip to the Buffalo defense. Patty Mahomes come playoffs, he's hard to beat. He's hard to beat in the regular season, but come playoff time, I mean, the dude's won, how many playoff games? He's arguably the best. So defensively, what are your goals to have success, and what's the keys to the game here defensively?
Three main things: blitz Mahomes, cover Travis Kelce, and the cover Rice. He has two main targets. Those are the two guys. Cover him and blitz him. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not that concerned about their run game, although Pacheco, he's a good running back, but their pass game, I think they're going to look for that, and especially with the injuries and the Bills are banged up this game. Last question here before our score prediction, Jim. Who's a player that has to have success and have a great day for the Bills to win?
Of course, my boy Dawson Knox got a ball out, but I think Josh Allen, he needs to put that sucker in.
I love it. And like I always hear, before we get out of here, Jim, what's our score prediction?
34-24 Bills.
And Bills, if that's true, Bills would punch their ticket to the AFC Conference Championship in Baltimore next week. Picasso's playoff push. Jake and Maniac, take it away.
Okay, cool. Then I'll bring it back, okay? All righty. A reserved card, but I like that on a AFC Divisional Sunday, getting us in the right direction. Locked in as he always is. Speaking of locked in, let's lock in, some call Carson a wild card. Let's lock in our wild cards for this divisional matchup. This guy is not a wild card for the Bills. He's central to their success, and they need it today. He kind of kept them above water with his performance last week, but Stephon Diggs, I know you had the foot. I know you had some vet rest. I know you're hurting. I know you're hurting some way. Whether they say it or not, I know you're hurting a little bit. But we have to find a way to dominate these Kansas City Chiefs. You have to be him today. You have to find a way to get over 6 catches. You have to find a way to get over 80 yards, and I need you to get in the end zone today. I just need a performance from Stephon Diggs today, Micah. I feel so confident right now in what we are getting in the Brady offense from Kincaid, Shakir, Knox, even Sherfield occasionally. We got to get our big dog. We need our big dog to step up.
Yeah. Diggs is due for a playoff moment. I think there was a stat in his last 4 or 5 playoff games, he's averaging 55 yards a game or something like that. He is way overdue for a big moment. And he's had legendary moments in the playoffs as we've seen before. So I think that today feels like a day to do it. You're at home. He's going to feel the energy of that crowd. He wants to go out and have a huge game today. So I love this pick. My pick is going back to the first game, the guy who had a big game. It's James Cook. 5 catches for 83 yards against the Chiefs earlier this season. Obviously, the long touchdown run and the dive somersault into the end zone. He also had 10 carries for 58 yards. He's been getting more volume than those 10 carries since that game. Obviously, the couple weeks after was the Cowboys game where he really broke out and jumped on to the national scene. The weakness of this Chiefs defense is their linebackers. So you're thinking, who are they going to attack those linebackers with the most? It is the Kincaid, Knoxes, and Shakirs, like you were just saying. But James Cook coming out of the backfield is a huge part of that. And I think he's going to be a big part of the game plan today at home.
I don't want to tease the people, but I love your same game parlay that we have, and it does revolve around your wild card. So why don't we get into it with yours here?
Yes, sir. So my same game parlay, we're keeping it. We got to have the Bills money line in there. Got to keep that locked in.
Got to.
James Cook over 2.5 receptions and 17.5 reception yards. That's the pick 'em for today. 17.5 and 2.5. I just told you he had 5 receptions for 83 yards against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. They're going to get involved. They're going to get Cook involved in this passing game, I think, today. The conditions are going to be nice for passing, and not too windy. It's going to be cold, but it's not going to be blowing around or anything like that. I think the Bills are going to look to lean on that passing game. And I think Cook will be the big recipient of this game and honestly be the biggest weapon for the Bills outside of Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, sometimes Vegas overthinks themselves or is stubborn, won't move the line. I agree with you. I think that not only was the precedent set, weeks ago when he had that good game for 80 plus yards against them, I think that a big part of the game plan today is going to be slowing down that Chiefs pass rush, that Chiefs front. And what better way to do that than lining up James Cook, on your shotgun hip, zipping it out to him real quick, a little extended handoff just to slow down that rush. He gets a couple of those and you're probably at your goal. So I know you're just waiting for the Bills to win. So I love it. I want to note for our viewers that I did miss my parlay by a Cook TD last week. I had Bills, Dalton Kincaid, and Cook. So I was looking great early. I just needed a Cook touchdown. Missed my 11-1 there. So let's run it back. 13-1. Bills money line and Diggs first touchdown. I think the Bills are going to execute. If you remember the AFC Divisional 2020 2-game, or sorry, 20. Well, what happened in 2022, but I think it was technically the 2021 AFC Divisional against the Chiefs. The Bills did go down in their first drive and score a touchdown. A couple of fourth down conversions. McDermott being aggressive. I think we're going to be aggressive with Diggs early, extended handoffs when we can. So I like Diggs to get that first touchdown and get the Bills on the board. Get on the board. Make sure you're ordering your Picasso. Still plenty of time before kickoff. But with that said, Micah, any thoughts before we sign off here?
Two things. About my last week's same game parlay, you had to sweat it out, but those Ty Johnson garbage time minutes did get you over. Did get you over. I was so hyped watching him get those carries at the end. So that was huge. The reason I feel so confident going into this game, the last 4 games against the Chiefs, the Bills are 3-1, and their only loss is that aforementioned divisional game. And obviously, Josh Allen went off the field with a lead, and then a coin toss is what did them in. So we know how close they are to being 4-0. That could have been the narrative, that the Bills are 4-0 the last time in the Chiefs. 3-1 the last 4 games against the Chiefs, still pretty damn good. And I know it's not the playoffs. No, it's a different animal, and we have all the hype around Mahomes in the playoffs and everything else. But just look at it on how this team has defended Mahomes. They've only scored, besides the divisional game, they've scored 20 points, and 17 points against this Bills defense. McDermott's been able to slow down Mahomes. This game is at home today. We've never seen Mahomes in this environment. We know that that offensive line is not the best for the Chiefs. I bet you there's some false start penalties, some delay of games, some illegal shifts from the offense and everything else. I think we get some mistakes. I really think Bills Mafia is going to be the evening factor for this when it comes down to it. But you should feel confident. This Bills team has played this Chiefs, like after the AFC Championship, Brandon Beane said, we're out to beat Kansas City. And they've been in position to beat Kansas City every time they've stepped on the field with them. And now we get them at home in the biggest game in Western New York since the 1999 Stanley Cup Finals. Like literally like one of the biggest event in the last 25, 30 years there. The crowd's going to be there. The Bills are ready.
By the way, this is a great point. We tweeted out that this is one of the biggest games in like decades or whatever. And people were like, it was the same thing last year. AFC Divisional, the going on. How much bigger do these stakes feel, honestly?
It feels, because it's the Chiefs. Like no matter what, people want to like say like, oh, it's just another team, whatever else. Like these have been the 2 teams, the 2 winningest teams of the last 4 years. Like all these stats together that are just the Bills and the Chiefs, Mahomes and Allen. And last year, I don't think people were confident going into that game, to be honest. Like it felt like
I remember feeling very sketchy that we were a 6-point favorite. It felt like we were a little bit too much. It felt like we were kind of sleepwalking. And then what happened was the Bengals came right out, punched us in the mouth, drove down the field, and never looked back.
Yep.
So yeah, with that said, and then that goes into my other point: 6-point favorite, 3-point favorite this week. It's weird, but McDermott just had, even with the injuries, has a knack of kind of, in my opinion, rising to the opportunity. And my 2 examples this year are the Chiefs game earlier this year when they were able to contain Mahomes for virtually the whole first half. We went out 14-0, and that was kind of what led to us winning, because we were basically able to hold them off the last 35 minutes as they were kind of trying to come back. And the Dolphins game this year, you saw the hype around that. You saw 70 points the week before. All of a sudden, he gets an opportunity to stop them. Dolphins again holds them to 7 points in Miami. So an awesome opportunity. I think that McDermott really rises to the opportunity, and I think he's going to do that here. I don't want to sound crazy, but this is what I'm going to say. If the Bills offense doesn't turn the ball over, I think the Bills hold Kansas City under 17.5 points today. I think that they are not going to let them drive down the field. If Travis Kelce, if the Yeti gets hot again, fuck my face. But literally, I just saw what they were able to do at Arrowhead a month and a half ago. I know we're going to change. I know we're going to see some adjustments. Both these teams are going to try to adjust from that game. But I think that McDermott's going to rise to the opportunity. I think regardless of the personnel, we have the front we want. Rousseau, Oliver, everyone's playing. Daquan, everyone's playing there. I think they're going to be able to get the job done. And I think this could be potentially a trademark game in the McDermott era.
Yeah, it's we talked about it on Thursday on Pay the Bills pod. It's the legacy game for Sean McDermott, and it feels like he does rise to these moments. I think he knows the stakes here and the adjustments that he can make on Mahomes. I'm excited to see what they do. Excited to see how they attack, but feeling this game at home. If this game was in Arrowhead, I'd still be confident because we've seen them go into there. But the fact that this is at home, I just can't wait to see Mahomes really frantically running up to the line to change things. Like we've just never seen that in this rivalry so far. And I feel like it adds a dimension that the Chiefs are not, they think they're prepared for, but I don't think that they've been in an environment like this in this Mahomes era. Like they've never had the road playoff game. Mike Parthon made a great point the other day that I guess the technically it's a road playoff game in the Super Bowl against Tampa because it was in Tampa, but it was a weird COVID year and that, but if you want to count that as a road playoff game, they got demolished in that game. Demolished. So I feel really good about this game going into it.
Yep. And Bills fans should feel good. If they are getting ready for this game, make sure, folks, again, get that Picasso's pizza ordering, get that delicious Picasso's, and let's get a delicious win. Thanks for tuning along on the Picasso's Super Bowl push. Let's go, Bills.
Picasso's Pizza, we love you.
That's good pizza.
Picasso's Pizza. We are Buffalo Pizza.
Come on, girl. We're gonna miss the game.